Aelinar was a peaceful village nestled between rolling hills and a sparkling river. The village was a haven of tranquility, where the gentle hum of nature blended seamlessly with the soft murmur of daily life. Its houses, crafted from oak wood and cobblestone, glowed warmly under the Minecraft sun. Each home stood as a testament to the craftsmanship and care of its inhabitants, reflecting the village's rich history and enduring spirit. A gentle breeze rustled through the wheat fields, carrying the scent of freshly baked bread from the village bakery. The golden stalks swayed rhythmically, whispering secrets of the earth to those who would listen. Villagers, their pixelated faces etched with contentment, went about their daily routines. They tended to their gardens, traded goods, and shared stories, their lives intertwined in a tapestry of community and kinship.
I need to be stronger, faster. The urgency in his voice was palpable, a reflection of the growing tension that threatened to shatter their peaceful existence.
Inside a modest cottage on the outskirts of Aelinar, Kael paced impatiently. The walls of the cottage seemed to close in on him, mirroring the pressure he felt to rise to the challenge ahead. He was a young man with fiery red hair and determined blue eyes, gripping his wooden sword tightly. "Queen Lyria, patience, Kael." Her voice was calm, yet carried the weight of wisdom and experience. Rome wasn't built in a day, and neither is a warrior. Her words were a gentle reminder that greatness takes time, and that every step forward, no matter how small, was progress. Queen Lyria, her silver hair gleaming under the warm light, entered the room. Her presence was a beacon of hope and strength, a guiding light in the darkness. Her emerald green dress flowed gracefully as she moved. Every step she took was deliberate, exuding an air of regal authority and grace.
But we don't have time. His voice cracked with desperation, the weight of their predicament pressing heavily on his shoulders. Every day that passes, the usurper tightens his grip on our kingdom. The shadow of the usurper loomed large, casting a pall over their once peaceful land.
Kael sighed. The sound was heavy with the burden of responsibility and the fear of failure. He knew she was right, but the weight of their situation pressed heavily on his shoulders. The future of Aelinar rested in their hands, and the path ahead was fraught with peril and uncertainty. Kael slammed his wooden sword against a training dummy, picturing the usurper's cruel face. He had been practicing for weeks, but he still felt so slow, so weak.
I'll never be ready.
His shoulders slumped in defeat. Queen Lyria placed a reassuring hand on his arm. "Queen Lyria, Kael, your strength lies not just in your sword arm, but in your heart. You have a courage and determination that the usurper could only dream of." Her words sparked a flicker of defiance in Kael's eyes. He wouldn't let his fear control him. He wouldn't let the usurper win. He would become the warrior his people needed, the king they deserved.
Thank you, Your Majesty. I won't let you down.
He picked up his sword, his grip firm and resolute. Later that day, Kael found solace in the company of his two closest companions, Roran and Erynn. They had been through countless adventures together, facing dangers and celebrating victories side by side. They sat beneath the shade of a towering oak tree, sharing stories and laughter. The bond they shared was unbreakable, forged through trials and triumphs. Roran, don't be so hard on yourself, Kael. Remember, every great warrior has faced setbacks. You're getting better every day. Your skills have improved tremendously since we first started training together. Roran, with his quick wit and even quicker sword hand, had been Kael's best friend since childhood. They had grown up together, learning the ways of the warrior and dreaming of grand adventures. He always knew how to lighten the mood, even in the darkest of times. His humor and optimism were a beacon of light for Kael. Erynn, we'll reclaim your kingdom, Kael. Together. No matter how long it takes, we will stand by your side. Erynn, a skilled archer with a sharp mind and even sharper tongue, provided a calming presence. Her strategic thinking and unwavering determination were invaluable. Her unwavering loyalty and support gave Kael strength. She was always there to offer a word of encouragement or a plan of action. Their words, their unwavering belief in him, filled Kael with a renewed sense of hope. He felt a surge of determination, knowing he was not alone in this journey. He was not alone in this fight. With Toran and Erynn by his side, he felt ready to face any challenge. He had his friends, his family, and the spirit of his people on his side. Together, they would overcome any obstacle and reclaim what was rightfully theirs. A shadow fell over the village as the sun began to set, casting long, eerie shadows across the cobblestone streets and thatched rooftops. The peaceful atmosphere was shattered by the sound of approaching hooves and the clang of armor echoing ominously through the quiet evening air. Strangers, clad in black iron and mounted on imposing steeds, rode through the village gates with an air of authority and menace. Whispers spread through Aelinar like wildfire, as villagers exchanged anxious glances and hushed conversations. Who were these newcomers? What did they want? The questions hung heavy in the air, fueling the growing tension. Fear and suspicion clouded the villagers' faces, their usual sense of security now replaced by a palpable sense of dread.
Who are they? What do they want? The villagers' voices trembled with uncertainty.
I don't know, but they don't look friendly. Their armor is too dark, their expressions too stern.
We should stay out of sight, Kael, just in case. We don't know what they're capable of.
Kael, Toran and Erynn watched from the shadows as the strangers dismounted in the village square, their movements deliberate and intimidating. Their leader, a tall, imposing figure with a cruel sneer etched on his face, scanned the crowd with disdain, his eyes cold and calculating.
Where is the prince? Tell me, and perhaps I will spare your pathetic village. His voice was a low growl, filled with menace and contempt.
The villagers exchanged uneasy glances, their eyes darting nervously between the strangers and Queen Lyria. The air crackled with tension. No one dared to speak.
Mother, what should we do?
Queen Lyria stepped forward, her chin held high with regal grace.
What business do you have in Aelinar?
The leader chuckled mirthlessly.
We seek the rightful heir to the throne, the one they call the Lost Prince. Hand him over, and we will be on our way.
Kael's heart pounded in his chest. He knew who these men were, the usurper's soldiers. He glanced at Queen Lyria, his eyes pleading for guidance. Queen Lyria met Kael's gaze with a reassuring nod. She knew what she had to do. Turning back to the soldiers, she said,
There is no prince here. Now leave this village at once.
The leader laughed cruelly.
Do you take me for a fool? We know the prince is here. Produce him or face the consequences.
He gestured to his men who fanned out through the village, their eyes scanning every nook and cranny. The villagers cowered in fear as the soldiers searched their homes and questioned their families. Kael's fists clenched at his sides. He couldn't stand by and watch innocent people suffer because of him. He had to reveal himself, to face the consequences of his birthright. Before Kael could step forward, Queen Lyria grasped his arm, her eyes filled with a mixture of fear and determination.
No, Kael, it's not your time. Not yet.
Kael looked into her eyes, his heart torn between his desire to protect his people and his duty to his kingdom. He knew she was right. He wasn't ready to face the usurper's forces, not alone, but he couldn't stay hidden forever. The time for hiding was over. The time for action had come. A fire ignited within him, a burning desire to fight back, to reclaim what was rightfully his.
You're right. It's time to stop running. It's time to fight.